Hello, today we'll be exploring the second variation of the Zentangle pattern called O, the French word for water. We start off by drawing dots in each corner and connecting those dots to create a border. We're also going to draw a grid, so I'm going to draw a line right down the middle, one to the left, and one to the right. Turn my tile and repeat the process. One down the middle, one to the left, and one to the right. All right, it's time for my Pigma Micron pen. In each intersection, or where each line of the grid meets, I'm going to draw a vertical inked-in seed shape. I'll go ahead and speed up the process a little bit. So this variation starts off just like variation 1. We're going to start on the second seed shape and draw a really loose S shape. And another. And continue down that first row, drawing these same shapes in the same direction, starting from the upper right-hand seed and drawing to the lower left-hand seed. Now in variation 1, when we go down to the next row, we switch directions, drawing from the upper left-hand seed to the lower right-hand seed. But in variation 2, we just continue on the same pattern that we've been doing. It creates almost these sort of diagonal ribbons. Now, as you play around with O, you can alternate, what side you start on when you're drawing your S shapes. You can alternate which S shape goes above and which one goes behind. Just play around and see what you like best. I'll go ahead and speed up the process a little bit. Now we're going to draw those S shapes that go behind. So we'll start from that upper left-hand seed shape, draw our S curve, and let it go behind before it connects to that lower right-hand seed. Go behind, connect to the lower right-hand seed. And we'll continue this process all through the rest of the tile. So I'll go ahead and speed it up again. And that's really all there is to it. This is the basic O pattern in variation 2. But the rest of the magic of this pattern is taking these outlines and embellishing them, decorating them in whatever way feels interesting to you. So for the rest of the video, we're going to be adding those embellishments or those decorations. I decided I wanted to darken the edge, so I'm creating an aura along the outside of this first S shape and inking it in. And I'll do the same on the other side of this S shape. Now I want to continue this pattern down. So connecting to that same seed, I'm going to draw the outer aura on this S shape that goes behind and ink that in. So all of the S shapes that connect to the same seeds will have this same decoration. So I draw my outer aura and I ink it in, making sure that this S shape is connecting to the same seed from the previous S shape that I had aura'd and inked in. And we continue on this process throughout the rest of the tile. I'll go ahead and speed this up a little. So on these same aurid S shapes, I'm going to add a little bit of flicks each time the S shape meets one of the seeds. I usually add 3 flicks, with the middle one being a little bit longer. Makes it seem as if perhaps it's a ribbon that's gathering, and that's the flicks are all of those little crinkles as the ribbon gathers in one place. Just adds a little bit more depth. I'll go on and continue this pattern through the rest of the tile. So for the rest of the S shapes, I wanted to put in a pattern that was contrasting or a little bit different from the first pattern I chose. So for these S shapes, I'm going to add in a series of overlapping orbs. I start with a really small one at the bottom, and then I curve up these orbs as if they're going behind one another. So I'm really drawing sort of these backwards C shapes. Whenever the C shapes meet, if there's a little bit of a gap between the C shape and the outside edge of my S curve, I go ahead and fill that in. But I try to draw my C shapes so that they fill in as much of that S curve as possible. I'll go ahead and speed up the process a bit. When you draw these orbs into the S shapes that go behind, you start off just the same, but once you meet the overlapping S shape, you have to use your imagination a little. You have to make pretend that those orbs go right on behind and imagine what that shape would look like. So you sort of have to be willing to trust your imagination a little bit as you do these going behind shapes. just decide where those orbs go and nestle them right on in. I'll continue on this process and speed it up a bit. So that's my drawing done. Time for some shading. Now in the corners where these ribbons gathered, where we put those flicks, I'll put a little bit of graphite. For the S shapes with the orbs, I'm going to add a little graphite along the right side edge of each one, and then go ahead and use my tortillon to blend that in. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and add some graphite along the outer right edge of each of these S shapes, as if it were casting a shadow beneath it. You might hear my cat Gavin in the background. He's sort of climbing around. He's having a busy morning today. I'll continue on this process adding those outside shadows and then blending those shadows in with my tortillon. So I'll go ahead and speed it up. All right, I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my chop. And then on the back, I'll write the name of the pattern, O, and that this is variation 2. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please let me know if you try out this pattern, how you like it, and what kind of fun things that you wound up doing when you decided to decorate or embellish the pattern. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.